What's going on, everybody? Thank you for tuning to another episode of Right on Cue Podcast. As always, I'm your host, Logan Chestnut. Join me tonight is the best from the West, Mr. Rusty Monson of Salt City Barbecue. Rusty, how's it been, man? I feel like it's been a long time since I talked to you.
Yeah, it's been
whole week?
a month. Well, I mean, on here, like in front of the people, it's been a month. But behind the scenes, it's literally just been 4 minutes.
4 minutes ago. I mean, I'm kind of stalker status. Like, why don't you respond? Why don't you respond to my texts? You haven't said red yet.
You know what's funny is that I never put my phone on silent, but since I met you, I've had to at night. So I sleep so much better. But that's what's happening.
Wow. Okay. We're gonna have a talk later.
Yeah, I've unplugged all my cameras too in case you want to hack those.
I was gonna say something. I mean, you changed the password on your cams, and I don't appreciate it. I need to make sure you're safe at all times.
I got to do what I got to do.
No, man. So tell me, how's it been? How you been? I know food truck's been kicking ass as always.
Yeah, it's been really the craziest summer of my whole life. But it's winding down right now. So we're just focused on catering. But man, it was a wild trip, man. It was 4 locations a day, 2 in lunch, 2 at dinner, nonstop catering. It was weird. It was great, but it was a learning experience. Now that it's starting to cool off, of course, food trucks, it's not the coolest thing to go wait out in the cold for your food. So
especially on Utah.
Slow down. Yeah, it gets cold here. Like it gets like right now it's beautiful. It's like perfect weather. Fall weather here is the best. I'm sure it is up there too.
Yeah.
But here it's great. And so, but when it comes winter, it's really, it's really hard. So, we do other things. We focus more on catering and different stuff like that. And so it's slowed down where I look at the schedule and I'm like, oh, hey, I have 2 days off this week. That's cool. Instead of, hey, my day off is I get home at 9 and I could probably watch a movie from 9 to 11 and go to bed. And that was my day off.
Your wife's like, who are you? I don't know who you are.
Exactly. So it was crazy, but now it's kind of slowing down. We're still going to be busy, but not, crazy. Now I have a full-time job. Now I maybe work 40 hours a week, You're
getting lazy. Is that what you're saying?
That's exactly what I'm saying. I'm not kidding, man. 40 hours. It sounds weird, but 40 hours for me is literally the best. Like I have so much time to do stuff. And
right.
I'm like, what do I do with my day? I have a whole day. Like I had 2 straight days off. Like, I don't even know what to do. The next day, I'm like, okay, I did all my stuff on Sunday. Great. Well, it's Monday now. What do I do?
You do the podcast. That's what you do. No,
exactly it.
Dude. So let me ask you, on your trailer, like how often do you like take it in for like maintenance, like check everything out and stuff like that?
when you have to.
Yeah.
It's funny because I just made a list of everything I have to fix and I went to my guy who fixes it.
Right.
And I'm like, listen, dude, I got a list of stuff. He's like, oh yeah, cool, man. I get there. Okay, here's the truck. You ready? All right, the trailer after that. So it was like a whole thing, man. It's a whole thing. And so if it doesn't work, you get it fixed. If it doesn't, if it's like a problem, you try your best to patch it over until you have time, because it's hard, man. Like, for example, if I have a warranty on some things. But Ford that's one of my trucks, will take 3 weeks. I can't shut down for 3 weeks. So
sure.
our gear won't go into park. So you have to jimmy rig it underneath, to get it to go down.
Why do you chalk in your truck for it? Don't worry about it. Mind your business.
Exactly. I'm checking my own truck.
Here we go. Dude, I finally, I've been I've made out with a leprechaun and stuck a horseshoe up my ass for the last couple of years, but I finally ran into my first barbecue trailer mechanical issue. Like leaf spring. I pulled in and I backed in to my spot for this past weekend to comp, and AJ freaking said, "Hey man, I think your leaf spring's broken." I said, "My what?"
Mm-hmm.
And I looked back and the side of my trailer is like gangster leaning to one side. He said, when did that happen? I said, I got no damn clue. I said, hell, as far as I know, I could have rode the whole way down there with it. I don't know. I probably not, because that definitely wouldn't.
It happened to us. We were going down to, I want to say Scottsdale, Arizona. I pulled into a gas station. A guy had a mechanic shop and, rolls up in his little golf cart and goes, hey, your leaf spring's broke. We can fix it for you.
Oh, yeah.
Once he did, man, I was like driving home, like, oh my God, it's like I'm driving a Cadillac. was great.
This is nice. It's like everything works. No, well, like, man, it was on Saturday, so you can't find anything on Saturday. So we finally got the part, and then freaking AJ, man, like I said, I want to give a shout out to AJ, man. AJ is the nicest guy, and he truly helped me out because when it comes to mechanical shit, I am reading ancient Greek mythology. I don't know anything about it, man. It just like might as well be Chinese for me. But man, we YouTubed it. We figured it out. We changed the leaf spring on site.
Fixed it.
Yeah.
What the hell?
Boom. Yeah. Think all that money I saved.
Damn.
I borrowed like barbecue comp. Everybody's got everything mechanic. Like I feel like when some of these guys go to barbecue comps, I mean, they carry a mechanic shop with them. It's like a Snap-on tool trucks. It's like, hey, I need what do you call it? Damn it, I look really stupid now. No, I need like 3 jacks. You got I was like, oh, we'll have a 4-ton jack. I'm like, yep, that'll work. Let's do that. And we got everything off the thing, and we had sockets, we had all the tools. I'm like, man, this is awesome. I'm like, thank God it happened here and not like on the side of the interstate in Montgomery.
Wow. I could barely put gas in my truck, man. I couldn't do that. I don't have the patience for that stuff. I would go crazy. Oh, that stressed me out just listening to it.
Yeah, I know, but it started off shitty, but then it ended up awesome because I got to see Alabama lose to Vanderbilt in Alabama, and of course I'm that guy. I didn't let that let that go easy into the night. I definitely was loud about it. For one night, I was a Vandy fan.
Hey man, it's happened so infrequently. You might as well just take advantage of it while you can.
Oh yeah, it's only been 63 games since they've won anything. So I was like, all right, sweet, let's go. Oh, here you go, Roll Tide. Listen, they roll Tide all the way to the dumpster. Yay, Bama. But no, man, let's
delete comments.
Yeah, I delete comments. I'm like, no. Instaban. No, David. No, man, David's awesome, dude. But no, man, so it's been a great weekend of football. My last comp, so I'm done, like off season. I'm ready to relax and be a husband again. So I feel like, you've been a while for you, but the season is, your wife's like, who are you? And why are you home on a weekend? So right. That's what I feel like it's been for me. So it's going to be nice to take a break and try to go back to the drawing board on how to cook ribs because I am just all thumbs. No clue what to do. But you know what? I bet I do know who can help me with that and has some ideas on how to cook ribs because our guest tonight, here, I'll let you lead it off. Tell everybody who our guest is tonight. This is the Rusty episode. Rusty, all the hosts on our show gets to pick one guest for the month, and Mr. Rusty has decided to bring out the big guns tonight. So, Mr. Rusty, introduce our guest tonight, shall you?
Yeah. So,
shall you?
So obviously Christie lives in Las Vegas, which is just 6 hours away. So we competed a lot together. We saw each other a lot. She's always been a good friend of mine. And she's always been there if I have any questions about stuff and helping me out. And whether it be anything I needed from, like, she started me out on making sausage and comp stuff. And if I have any questions, whatever it may be, but it's just always fun to see her at the comps. And she was kind of the first person we go chat with. And when you said you can pick one person, I was like, the first person I thought of was, oh, Christie would be great. So, and she was the only person I reached out to. So, and it worked. So
1 for 1, man. 1 for 1.
Yeah.
I usually got to reach out to 20 people.
But the thing is like, she just she does it all, man. She's like, you see a lot of people who are influencers on, YouTube and stuff. And, I don't know much about them, but she's a cook's cook. Everything she cooks is phenomenal. She's not as good as cook as her stepmother, but that we'll talk about that later. But she's an excellent cook. She literally is one of the best cooks I've ever physically met and had food from. And she's a competitor. She's one of the best out there. If she shows up, she's one of those people you're like, oh shit.
Definitely.
And so, I mean, she just hands her hands in everything. So that she had spice label for a while. She has a cookbook out now. I mean, just you name it. When it comes to barbecue, she knows it. She does it. She has it. She's lived it. She knows it 100%. And there's no one better, I think, to come on for this first one than Christie. So,
amen. So without further ado, let's bring her to the stage, Miss Christie Vanover. Thank you. Sorry, man. I'm slacking. What's up? Hey, thank you so much for joining us.
Hi. I'm so flattered. I didn't know that was the criteria to get selected was to be Rusty's prom date. So thanks.
You are, yeah. Welcome to home. No, I don't know. Prom sounds formal. This is more homecoming.
All right, okay.
Yeah, it was funny because it's like I said, it was the first person I thought of. I'm like, oh, it's Christie. It's not even close. Like that's the person we need to talk to, man.
Well, thanks.
Now everyone's got to follow this.
All right.
I know, you're starting off really strong.
But so Christie, it's going to be hard to introduce everyone to you because I feel like I know so much, so I might miss some things. But let's give it a shot because we got to start where everyone starts, right?
Sure.
How did you become the barbecue god that you are now? Where did it all begin?
Yeah, great question. It began with me burning chicken. I mean, it just, it started when I got married. We got a grill. I didn't know anything about making barbecue chicken. I threw sauce on it, put it on the grill. The sauce looked done, put it on the kitchen table, and it was raw inside. So that was like 30 years ago. So fast forward, obviously I've improved since then. My father-in-law took me under his wings, taught me his cooking skills. And then I started barbecuing more. I got a grill gifted to me, a big green gifted to me at an event that was held in Las Vegas. And then after that, I just learned and played around with it and built my website. And from there, just entered the competition circuit. And now I've completely just built a whole brand around my love of barbecue.
How long in your cooking game was it until you started doing competition barbecue?
Yeah, so I started Girls Can Grill in 2015, in March of 2015. And then I think my first competition was November 2016, if I'm not mistaken. And it was a backyard called Thrill of the Grill. It was just like a 4-meat, but it was like chicken ribs, chicken wings, steak, hot dogs, and hamburgers. So just like a totally like backyard barbecue.
Backyard, yeah. That's a tailgater.
Yeah. Yeah. And I got several calls, and then in May of 2017, right before May of 2017, I took a couple of classes from Fergalicious and from Smitty, and then I entered my first KCBS competition in May 2017. So just a couple years after I started Girls Can Grill.
Nice. Oh, so did you when did Pitmaster Barbecue Pitmaster, when did that come out? Was that
2009?
2009.
Yeah.
Okay.
I remember because that's how I got into it.
That's how a majority of us got into it. That's our Rounders moment.
Right.
So,
I like that. Yeah, for sure.
That's our Rounders. That come out, then boom.
Yep.
Competition barbecue's huge thing. So I guess have you seen it around, or did you kind of luck into it like Rusty did, or how did you hear about competition barbecue? Because it's not something, unless you're in the world, you don't hear a lot about it.
So I started growing on social media, and there was a local guy named Barry, and he saw me on social media, and he just shot me a DM and said, hey, we have this Nevada Barbecue Association. We'd love for you to come to a meeting and see if you like it. And I was like, okay, cool. And at that class, they actually happened to have somebody trimming a pork butt. And so I learned that competition barbecue even existed because I knew about competition barbecue before that, because when I competed at the World Food Championships, when it was held in Vegas, I did the sandwich and burger categories. And then I saw the whole barbecue area happening, and I was like, what is this? It smells good. It's magical. They're having fun. I want to figure this out. And then Barry invited me to a club meeting. And then from there, it all just kind of merged together. And then there was a competition in Boulder City, which is right near my house. And so I was like, okay, let's try this. At that time we just had a truck and a tent, and gave it a go. And I just instantly fell in love with the sport of barbecue because of the people of barbecue.
Yeah, that's definitely a big selling point.
Yeah, people are the best. One of the best parts of it. Beating those people is even better, though.
Well, I will have to say, so I just took Smitty's class right before the competition, and this was my first comp, and they actually called to 12th place that year, and I got 12th in brisket, so that I got my first call, which is amazing. They even called to 12, and I beat him in brisket, and he was such a gentleman. He walked up and he shook my hand, and he was proud because he taught me what to do. And so it wasn't like he was like, damn, but I was like, sweet, I just beat him. And then when I took Brad and Tim's class, and then I competed against Brad and beat him in brisket, I also was like, okay, this is cool.
Yeah, so. Your brisket's amazing. And it's funny because when I compete, I'm the same way. It's nice and all, but man, when I beat you, it's like that part in the movie where they stab you and they just lock eyes with you as you fall and die. That's right. All of you.
I mean,
yeah, I remember when you got your GC up there in like Ogden or wherever we were up north. Yeah.
But it's funny because we had a competition with Brad Leininger. I think this
Mhm.
was the competition. Was this the one? Oh, no, it might have been in Boulder. I can't remember. It's probably both. And we had made one of the best briskets we've ever made in our whole lives. We had tried the A9 out of Florida for the first time. Like, oh, we're going with this. Have we done a better brisket? Nah, hasn't happened. We're winning brisket. It's happening. Then we go over to Christie's tent. Well, truck. Try our brisket. I went, well, we lost. Move on over. Maybe we'll get something else. Hopefully we get chicken. That was good too, wasn't it?
Well, thanks.
I think you took brisket and I took second, or Brad or something like that. But anyway, yeah. So
Yeah.
And then in Boulder, same thing. But yeah, so I guess, let's just stick with the competition part for just a little bit. You cook on Hunsakers, you cook on drums, and you cook exclusively on them. If you still do, used to anyway.
Yep.
And I guess just what do you think your best meat that you do is currently?
It's still brisket. I would say brisket and pork are the ones that I get the most top calls in. This year I've been in a slump, actually. I haven't done a whole lot of comps, but everything's just kind of like stalled out on me. But still, I think that brisket usually performs the best for me.
Yeah, and I always kind of want to just try and just skim some info off of you. So let's just do that today.
Okay.
On brisket.
Uh-huh.
I am struggling on brisket. What are your suggestions?
Well, first, I mean, you want to inject it. Well, first of all, you need to start with a good brisket, high quality, lots of marble. And are we talking about you needing this, or just in general, like for the public?
Just in general, like if people are listening, maybe they want to start into brisket and they're just struggling with it. Yeah.
So it's scary to buy like a Wagyu brisket or an A9 brisket because they're expensive. They're a couple $100s, and so it definitely has a lot of fear to do that. But if you want to win in a competition, you really need to go that route. And if you use code Girls Can Grill at Snake River Farms, you get 10% off all year round. A little plug.
Nice.
So, but yeah, you want to start with a good brisket. I do use Snake River Farm Gold. I do inject. I think that's important. You want to add a little bit of phosphates in there to add some moisture. And I do season the night before, inject and season the night before. And I'm going to do another shameless plug. I always season with my brisket rub, which was out with Spiceology before. And now I have a new co-packer. So this is just about out. It's shipping to the fulfillment center this week. So I season liberally with that. I also do add MSG because there's no MSG in the brisket rub itself because some people don't like it. So you can just add it yourself. And then I smoke hot and fast. I always separate my point from my flat because they cook differently. I take my point a little bit further than I do with my flat. Cook them to a nice bark, hot and fast, usually actually lately I've been doing 300 to 350 temperature wise. And then I wrap them with a mop, which is usually like a beef consomme plus more of my brisket rub, and then sometimes some beef tallow in there also. And then just take them until they're totally probe tender, and then I throw them in the Cambro afterwards. Temperature varies depending on altitude, but usually my flat is about 210 and my point I cook it to about 214.
Do you run a water pan on yours for the
I do, yes. Yeah. And I put my flat over the water pan since it's more lean than the point. Mm-hmm. So yes, I do that. And I do a little bit of rotating and flipping and all that kind of stuff.
You do the can method where you rotate it.
Yep.
And Can DJ. And how and why do you spritz it? Do you spritz it whenever you feel like it, or is there a way you look at it? Are you using apple juice or are you using vinegar? What are you using?
Yeah, I use apple cider vinegar for my spritz because I just like the contrast of the tanginess with the fattiness of the beef. I just think it adds just a nice subtle flavor in there. And then I just spritz it when it's starting to look dry. If I see that it's like, if that bark is just starting to harden a little bit, then that's when I spritz it. It's usually like every 45 minutes or so.
Yes. Let me ask you a question. I had this argument with a friend of mine that's his last comp this past weekend. Like when you're wrapping your brisket or, rubbing, like where do you think the meat gets the majority of its flavor? At what process? So is it the rub? Is it the wrap? Or is it the finish, where you have the sauce and all that? Where does the majority of the taste come from?
That's a good question. I mean, I think that the dry brine the night before with the injection, I think that helps definitely because that's going to like just the salts and the water and the moisture in the meat are just like kind of distributing and kind of doing some absorption at that stage. And then I think mainly on the smoker, you're picking up just the smoke and the bark. It's obviously getting into the meat some, but when we're cooking hot and fast, the meat itself is not as absorbing as much of that steak or as much of that smoke, excuse me. And then when it comes to the mop, it depends on how you mop. So I do the method where you put it in a half pan. And I mean, it's like almost covered with that consomme. So it's definitely getting a lot of flavor. That's why I use the beef consomme, and that's why I use my brisket rub, because there's just so much concentration of beefiness in that. So I think for me, I think the answer would be that beginning brining stage and then that mop stage.
And so you prefer the bath? I call it the bath with the pan. You pretty much give it a bath versus wrapping it in like butcher paper and foil and stuff like that. Is that just for competition, or is that like home use too? Or
yeah, that's just for competition. At home, I usually use pink paper and beef tallow.
Okay.
But I will say, and I've talked about this before on other podcasts, when cooking the jack, so I've had the opportunity to judge the jack multiple times before cooking it. And the biggest complaint from judges on brisket is that it tastes like roast beef, that cooks are using that bath method. And so it's basically just like kind of steaming and braising that brisket instead of the traditional like Texas smoke. So after judging it for several years, I took that into consideration when I first competed in the jack. And so now I kind of changed my method to where I still do the bath method, but then toward the end, I actually take the foil off and I kind of add some more, wood chips or pellets or whatever, or wood chunk or whatever to the smoker, and just kind of reintroduce that smoke flavor so they get that back instead of it all being washed away. And when I did that method, I got fifth at the jack and brisket. So
not too bad. It's just decent.
Yeah, I got that barrel head. Rusty knows what that's. What's that?
I know the barrelhead's the jam, dude.
Yeah.
Everyone's like, "What's your favorite award?" I'm like, "5th place chicken of the jack." I'm like, "Really?" Yeah. And then they think like, "Oh wow, that's the best he's ever done." I'm like, "No," but that was my favorite.
No, that is the best you ever did. I mean, it's the jack.
He took 2 pictures of me. One when I was holding my barrel, another one we were just walking, and I took a picture, and I just use them all the time. So if you're out there and you see anything on our website or everything like that, credit goes out to Christie Vanover, just so you know where those pictures came from. But yeah, the jack, that was a trip. Like the food there, I think it's a whole new ball game in that spot. It's an interesting competition. But what do you think that judging? Obviously, you talked about the brisket. Do you think that really, really helped you? Like you were able to really dial it in and stuff like that. And when it comes to chicken in the jack, what do you prefer coming from the judge's side? And
so
from the cook side.
So first with brisket, I do think it helped. I also think that my box was just full and sexy. And the brisket I did the next year, I turned in and then I went back and looked at the box and I'm like, well, that wasn't as sexy. Like it just wasn't. Like even though I cooked it the same. So I think it was a combination of it just looked really good. And it honestly, it was the best brisket that I've ever cooked. So that just worked. As far as chicken, so for those who don't know chicken rules at the jack, you have to do white meat and dark meat. You have to have at least 7 pieces. So there's a debate as to whether or not, like if you normally cook thighs, do you do 6 thighs and 1 wing and technically you've met the rules, or do you do 6 and 6 and that way every judge gets to have a sample? Because if you just do the 1 wing, then the first judge will take the wing and they're going to judge both bites, and then every other judge will just judge your dark meat. Judges are not supposed to dock you down for not offering them a wing. They should only judge what they have that's presented to them in the box. Whether or not a judge would, I don't know. Like every judge, you can't get in the heads of every judge. So personally, I like to present both meats, but also if you don't have a good piece of white meat, like if you don't have a good wing, then don't put in the 6. So it's kind of like a game you have to play with yourself in your head. I love a well done breast, and if somebody can pull it off, that's what I've actually turned in before the jack. If you can pull it off, I think that it stands out because everybody does wings. We had 1 breast at our table the last time that I recall, but every other time it's always been wings. So I think if you can do it, then what's that?
How do you present a breast? I'm thinking in my head, like, how I would box my meats that I cook, and how do people present that? Because personally, I've never done that.
Yeah, so just basically, if they do thighs, they'll do 6, 3 and 3 down the sides, and then the breast in slices, either like fanned or kind of crisscross like they would the wings, but just like a 1-inch slice of the breast.
I got you. Because I mean, I've seen people that start starting to do. I don't know. Do you cook thighs or legs?
I do thighs usually. Yeah, I've been playing around with legs, but I do thighs.
I mean, have you seen the? Oh, the 7 thigh box that everybody's doing, the 2, the 3, and the
Yeah.
2. I wonder if like that that would work with the put the wings. I don't know how you make it sexy with the wings though. It'd be kind of hard.
Yeah, and again, you only technically have to have one wing, or one piece of and technically you could do 6 wings and one thigh. Like it just has to be 7 pieces. But but at the Jack, I think my experience, the boxes come in full. Like people are loading them up,
showing off a little bit.
Yeah,
for sure. Oh man.
It's we did breasts when I did mine, and it was only because I had cooked wings before at a competition. I did my competition style, but I put them in, I did it with a wing, and I don't know why, but it didn't take, and it was awful. It was terrible. So my lack of being able to cook wings properly led me to do the breast. And I was like, I know how to cook those. I'll just do that. And everyone's cooking wings, and I'm like, that's gonna suck. It's gonna suck.
You were different though, Rusty. You're just different. You got some probably creative points.
Maybe that's what it was. It was just like, hey, someone did this. Great, good job.
Well, I saw a picture of Rusty's box after the competition, and I'm pretty certain that I got his box on my table. We never know because it's double blind, but I know what the boxes look like, and we had breast on our table, and it was hands down our favorite at the table. Like everybody loved the breast. It was so juicy, super moist, and so I think it was Rusty's, but we'll never know.
And my tip to that is, like I tell everyone, do what Jerry Aguilar told me to do: cook 45 and pick the best one, because there'll only be one.
Yeah. And when I tried wings last year, so I did breast the first year. I don't remember what place I got, but not top 10. The next year I decided I was going to do wings. Everybody's doing wings. Barbecue League had some videos on wings. I'm like, okay, let me give this a try. But I decided I wanted to try to add a little bit more texture to the skin because I don't like a soggy wing. And that didn't do well for me. So don't necessarily go crispy.
Well, I love crispy wings. I hate soggy. That's why I'm so chicken to do wings at a competition, because like you have to just nail it. Like the window's so small, I feel like, on the perfect competition wing that I don't know what it is. It's like cooking comp brisket for the first time. Unless you've had it before, unless you probed it before, you don't know what that is. Yeah, it's like Janky Leg told me, cook it till it's done, then about 20 minutes more, and then you're good.
Yeah,
there you go.
It work. I still get nervous with wings. I have PTSD for wings and competitions, so
we gotta get Rusty whenever he gets done taking over the Utah barbecue game. Get him back in the scene. He needs to make a reappearance.
I want to. I really do. One day I will. And what happens is I get, there's a day open, and that day goes.
You didn't sign up for the barbecue jackpot.
We're going to talk about that in just a minute. That was phenomenal. That was freaking great. Like, awesome. And you know what? Screw it. I think we talked a little bit about the Jack, right? We gave some barbecue.
It's Jack week, so we checked that box.
Well, I will add, if you are at the Jack, come see me a Thursday at the hardware store. I will be signing my cookbooks and selling my rubs for the first time. And then Friday night on Barbecue Hill, I'm actually going to be the guest pitmaster cooking some pastrami beef ribs with certified Angus beef. And then Saturday I'm judging.
Pastrami beef ribs?
Yeah. Plate ribs, dino ribs.
You have piqued my interest.
They're really good.
Talking my love language now.
Awesome.
So just we're going to jump all over today. That's just how I do it. That's what I like to do. I am the ADHD podcaster. That's what I like to think of myself. So you decided you want to do a competition in Las Vegas. There was one on Fremont that kind of defunct. And that was a very popular one. And you started one, and I guess I'll let you talk about it, but it was pretty crazy because you're like, hey, barbecue comp. And then what happened?
Yeah, so it's called the Barbecue Jackpot, and I announced the date and time that registration would open, and we had room at the time for 40 or 50 teams, depending on team size, and it sold out in 90 minutes. And the wait list, like, was still going. And so I reached out to Bass Pro Shops. That's where we're going to be holding the competition. And I said, can we please have some more space? I've got more teams interested. So we got a whole lot more space. And I opened it back up and it sold out in just a few hours after that. So in total, it sold out in like 4.5 hours. And we have 79 teams from 16 states. It's going to be a really fun time. We've got some sponsors already. We've got Jack Daniels as a sponsor, Cowboy Charcoal, Blues Hog, of course, Bass Pro, and Jesse Ray's God Sauce, which is a company, a barbecue company here in Las Vegas. So, yeah, super, super excited. It's going to be, and we've got over 100 judges, and they are all CBJs. I think like 70 of them are master CBJs, and I'm also requesting that all of them take the J Cup, which is the what does J Cup stand for? I don't know. It's the new like KCBS judging program. It's totally slipping my brain right now.
Education of the judging program.
Yes. Yeah. So they are. Yeah. So the judges who wanted to judge who hadn't completed that course are also getting that course completed, which I think is really important so that teams are cooking to the same standards that KCBS wants. So yeah, I'm excited for it. It's December 6th and 7th here in Las Vegas, and it's going to be a good time.
Jeez. Wow. First of all, if anyone lives in the West, I know that Logan's up there tripping over barbecue contests on the way to work. He's like, God, that's a stupid barbecue contest. Got to drive around.
It's a Tuesday. Why do you have one on Tuesday? I don't know what's going on here.
You know, you could like make a full-time job out of it up there. In the West, however, it's very difficult to find them. And the funny thing is, you think they're so we need them so badly that when one post would fill right up, right? That's just simply not the case. So when I heard that it sold out in no time, I was beyond shocked. So we have to find out how does that happen? And it doesn't happen anywhere else. And then you just told me they're all CBJs.
Yeah.
How does that happen? Like that's crazy.
I think there's two big parts of it. Okay, I'll say three. One big part is that it's in Vegas. Two is that it's in December. So there are no other competitions. Everybody, they're not, all the CBJs aren't spread out at all these other comps. So they're like itching for something to do. I mean, we have two judges coming from Switzerland. So that's like, I think part of the Vegas part. And then three, I'll take a little credit. And I think it's because it's a Girls Can Grill event. Like, I think people know that I put on a legit show and it's going to be a good time. And we're going to take care of the teams. We're going to take care of the judges. And so I'll take a little credit for that too.
You should. I think that has a lot to do with it too. I mean, if it was just some random dude, you just never know. You know the business. You're part of the Nevada Barbecue Association. You've done the comps. You've done it in every single way. You got to, you know what you're doing. And so it's a cool look. Like you're right. It's Vegas. So I guess if you're out there in the West Coast, guys, you want to have a really successful barbecue place, go get a craps table and stick it in the room.
Yeah.
I mean, gambling and barbecue. Come on now. That sounds fun.
I would say one of the hardest parts about having it in Vegas, and this is why, so Downtown Throwdown on Fremont Street was in 2018, and then it paused, and then COVID and blah, blah, blah. The hardest part about having a comp in Vegas is location fees. There are so many other competitions happening, not competitions, there's so many other events happening in Vegas that like the demand is more than the supply. So like they'll charge, when we did some other comps for SCA, they'll charge $5,000 to $10,000 a day for location fees just for parking lots. And it's just not a balance of revenue to like pull that off. So with the sponsorship we're getting this year from Bass Pro Shop, that's huge. But otherwise it would be challenging. Sorry, I just lost my earbud.
No, you're good. Man, I was talking, we're talking, like I said, we just competed like this past weekend at Pusacue, which is, I don't know if you ever heard of that, but it's, on this big one on this side of the country. It's in Montgomery, Alabama. It's at a casino, and that's a really popular, big, huge payout. I think first place or grand champion got $20,000. So it's a big payout for competition barbecue. And I was talking to the girl who puts it on. She does a phenomenal job, phenomenal job. And she was talking about, it's hard to justify, like it's hard for them to continue doing it because it's to remain profitable. At least break even at that point. When you see the organizers putting on these contest, in your mind, are you looking like to clear, or are you looking to going out to break even? Or because we still haven't figured out. I think that's the biggest challenge in KCBS is they haven't figured out how to get the audience involvement like we should. If people pay to watch water polo or watch some silly crazy sport, then surely the guy we can do it with barbecue.
Yeah, I definitely think like so for me, I'll be lucky if I break even this year. And I want a $20,000 prize purse because it's Vegas for God's sake, but we're just not there. I think we're at like 12,000 right now,
That's still
and
awesome.
that's with me not taking any money. Like I just want this to happen so bad that's where we're at. But to be sustainable, honestly, I can't devote this much time without pocketing a
Sure.
little bit at some point. So
Sure.
I've definitely got to figure out the formula. And I think having a year one, making it successful, I think there'll be more opportunities for sponsors. But what I think, so there's a couple models. There's the model of have a KCBS comp and don't have PC, and then there's really nothing for the crowd. And sometimes people bring in food trucks, but it's not. It's the catering food trucks. No offense, Rusty. It's just not that your barbecue. You know how to do competition barbecue, but it's just not the same. It's just different type of barbecue. People want that competition barbecue. So then, another model is they try PC. Well, most teams I know don't want to do PC unless they're trying to make connections and get catering gigs, and meet people. It's just too much when you're trying to chase points or get that GC. So what I'm hoping to do at the Barbecue Jackpot is have demos. This is kind of a similar model that they did at Smoke Slam, is have demos where a sponsor is actually cooking up the food and just giving the samples to the public. So they're not selling it from a food truck, but the people get to taste good barbecue. And eventually I'd actually like to bring in a competitive pit master who maybe doesn't want to compete, which would probably be rare, but or just somebody who just, I don't know, like Rusty could come in if he's not competing, come in and actually do the sampling. So they're actually getting something more similar to competition barbecue instead of something that's just maybe served right off the food truck. So I don't know. I don't know the answer, but I know that the sponsors aren't interested unless the public's there, and the public's not interested if they're not getting to experience the barbecue. So
sure.
Yeah.
Because that's the number one question you get from every, looky-loo at these barbecue competitions is like, when can I buy your food? When can I do this? When can I do that? And I'm like, I do like, the per se, I'm like, I mean, you can't buy my food, but if you come around at this point, I mean, there's a pan outside, and if it disappears, it disappears. I mean, I'm not going to question it because I sure hell don't want to eat this crap.
Well, and some states are so different too. Like some states, you can take all the leftovers from the teams and you can take it to a center area and give it to the public, and they don't care. But Vegas Health District is so incredibly strict. For me to do that, I would have to inspect every single team, make sure that they have proper sanitations, hand washing stations with the proper pH, proper hot water, that the meat is, I'd have to like go and probe everybody's meat, like while it's cooking, after it's cooked. Like I can't do all that. So yeah, we're not serving the barbecue to the public from the teams, but so Tennessee may be a little bit more lax, but Vegas definitely is hard when it comes to that.
I can imagine.
Yeah, that's the hard part. We've had them here in Utah where they can do a People's Choice Award and things like that. And they just kind of put a grazing table out, I think, which is really nice. And it's hard too, because I think a lot of people want the public to be there. And I think everyone wants their competitions to be successful.
Yeah.
But I mean, even when we're cooking, when we would cook in the tent and we'd have people walking around, people would be talking to us. And I'm like, bro, it's 12:30.
Yeah.
Back up, let's I need some room here. I have stuff I need to do. So it's like this double-edged sword, and I know in some places it's easier, like Utah. I think you could pull it off. You would have to have a hand washing station, but that could be an igloo cooler that goes into a thing, so it's laxer here than in Vegas. I bet Vegas is bonkers when it comes to
yeah, at the Fremont experience, Downtown Throwdown, we had a People's Choice component, so the health district had to come around to my tent, and I had my hot water, basically just the thermos thing, and she tested the water and she said it was too hot, and so she was going to fail me because my hand wash was too hot. I'm like, it's not too hot. She said, prove it, wash your hands with it. I'm like, okay, and I did, and then she walked away and she passed me. But like, they test your water temperature, they test all your coolers and whole 9 yards. Yeah.
Your hand sanitizing is too hot. I'm pretty sure heat kills germs.
No.
I mean,
yeah, that's crazy.
I don't know. I do mine like just south of boiling. It's like I call it the devil's bath. I just say, my wife, I come out the shower, I was like, "Why are you red?" I'm like, sunbathing, in the bath.
But, yeah. And here it's like I think they changed it, but it has to just be warm enough. It doesn't have to be too hot. It doesn't have to be it can't be cold. So lukewarm water in an igloo here would work. And I think that's the thing is if you get the public involved, then you can get sponsors back. But
Right.
it's a whole thing. Maybe I don't know. That's just a whole other discussion for another time. And I think it's gonna have to I don't know. And it changes from region to region. It's hell in Utah, it's county to county. So you never know.
So
Sure.
what is the barbecue scene out in Vegas? Like, not talking competition wise, but just in general. Like, I mean, it shot me that Rusty. I mean, it doesn't shot me Rusty. I mean, Rusty's a badass cook, but barbecue's big in Utah. But what's the scene like out in Vegas when they got all these other options? And I mean, you got everything under the rainbow out there.
It's actually pretty cool. I would say, like, you have your more traditional styles. Hardly anybody's born in Vegas, so like everybody just comes and moves to Vegas. So you've got guys from Texas who have their Texas restaurants, guys from Kansas City who have their Kansas City restaurants. But then what I really love is that there's like some international fusion. There is a restaurant that just opened up. I think it's called the Hog Tradition or Tradition Hog. I can't remember. And it's got Dominican flavor profiles. And I went and it was so good. And then of course we have Korean barbecue and we have Filipino barbecue. And then we've got Jesse Ray's, which he's fun because he's just like eclectic Vegas. He just like throws everything together and just makes it like he's got this rib that he calls the Fortress. That's like this big circle, and he fills it with meat and tater tots and mac and cheese and just like Vegas, crazy, sinful, Vegas, so it's
you got a sparkler on top.
Yeah. And then there's Soul Belly, and Bruce over there is doing things like super chefy style because that's what he is, like more of a top chef kind of guy. So it's really, I would say it's really diverse. Which is what I love about it.
I mean, I've seen some stuff where they do like the live fire. I think live fire is a big thing coming out in the barbecue scene, and they got that live fire festival out there that just looked so badass with all the torture contractions they had that were cooking meats.
Yeah, that was a few years ago, I recall.
Yeah,
I think. Yeah,
I saw it on YouTube, and I was like, "Well, here's 20 minutes I'm going to burn because I'm over here obsessed with all the cool stuff." Are you a big live fire cooker, or like?
For sure.
Enjoy that?
Yeah, I love doing asado cross cooking with like hogs, and that's really fun. I did that at Smoke Slam. We did a couple whole hogs. I do it a lot with Cowboy Charcoal. We just travel around to different events and do whole cooks. And Asado Life, which is in Florida. By the way, prayers to anybody in Florida. That hurricane looks wretched, so hope you guys stay safe. But there's a restaurant there called Asado Life, and I was able to cook in their kitchen, and they have these just amazing asado grills. And so I love live fire cooking. It just connects you more with the whole process. It's just that when it's 120 degrees in Vegas, I can't do it. So I think we had our last 100-degree day today, I hope. So I've got a grill works out in the back that's a live fire kind of Argentinian style that raises more. So I'm excited to get back out using that when it cools down.
Christie proved that you cannot cook an egg in the sun in the heat. So.
Yes. I tried.
We all know.
Did you try it on the old car hood? Because
I did not.
I guarantee you that'll sizzle some scrambled eggs.
I put a cast iron skillet on a flaming hot rock that was in the middle of my backyard, and I let it sit there until the skillet got as hot as it was going to get. I think the skillet surface got to like 145, and I put an egg in it, and it didn't do anything. And then someone else posted a video that they cooked an egg in Vegas, and then it was like this perfectly fried egg, and they totally went inside and cooked it and then brought it back out. Like they totally faked it.
don't say the magic. You can't. It's YouTube magic. He totally cooked it on the rocks.
I like that idea of like a barbecue Mythbusters kind of segment on a YouTube channel would be really cool. I think you do a lot of that with that, a lot.
Yeah, for sure.
We should do that, Rusty.
I think it'd be cool.
I don't know what we'd do. I mean, but I'm sure we could find some BS stuff that gets floating around. We're like, let's see if it really works.
There's tons of it.
I did a post about using pink curing salt to make a smoke ring. People are like, because they're always like, there's no smoke ring. Your smoke ring's not big enough. I'm like, okay, I can make it bigger. And like, did the pink curing salt, which obviously can be toxic if you use too much. So don't just do that. But you can get a 1/2-inch smoke ring if you want to. So
that's the biggest myth in barbecue. It doesn't have a smoke ring, therefore it's not barbecue. I'm like, stop.
Yeah.
I mean, Rusty, how do you get the smoke rings on yours when you boil your ribs at the food truck?
We paint them on with pink expo markers. We just kind of, as we cut them, we'll just circle the edges.
Is it the raspberry smelled ones?
Oh, of course. Of course. I buy the rare imported from China strawberry shortcake smell. It's my favorite.
Smelling salts on the barbecue. It'll wake you, slap your mama, man. Harry Sue's gonna sue you.
I can see in the future.
Oh my gosh! So, like, he passed out in a heat stroke in Vegas. Like, oh, bring the brisket. Smelling salt.
Pick this man up.
No, speaking of salt and stuff, you said you have a new rubs coming out, right? You mind telling us a little, shameless plug about these badass rubs that you got coming out? Let's see what we got.
Yes. So I've got chicken and brisket, and then I also have pork, but the pork one is not done yet. So I have my rubs with Spiceology for years. I was a collaborator on their kind of collaboration program, and they decided to just downsize a lot of SKUs and get rid of most of the collaboration program. Sorry, I'm not doing well with the mirror image. So I found a co-packer, and I'm really excited about them. I just cooked a brisket with the new brisket. I made it a little bit more coarse this time because I want more of that black pepper chunkiness. I like that for creation of my bark, so I'm really happy with that. And then for my chicken, I actually went with a finer granule this time. Same recipes, but just a little bit finer because it was a little bit too herby and coarse last time. And then my pork, which is usually my best seller, that one's got some coconut sugar in it and some chilies, and it's just, I don't know, it just makes pork just taste so good. And that one's going to have a little bit finer granules this time because last time it was a little bit too chunky too. So I've loved that I've been able to formulate these a little bit closer to what I want for competition barbecue, but they're also awesome for backyard. They will be available at my website, girlscangrill.com, very, very soon. I'll have them at the Jack this weekend, but then they'll be there and eventually hopefully on Amazon as well.
And I cooked with your pork seasoning for about a solid year at my house. So
nice.
That's all I used on it for like a whole year. So it's very good. The chicken was really good too. I am glad though it's smaller though, because I did have to grind that one, but it was still super, super good. So I hadn't tried the brisket one yet, so I have to try that one. I was really excited to get that one.
So how long did it take you to come up with the names for your rubs?
I decided that people need
names. Like, I want to hear the story behind it.
People need to know when it's sitting on the shelf what it's for.
Hey, tell them like, just because it says chicken rub or just because it says brisket rub doesn't mean that that's the only thing you can put it on. Because I had this conversation with Bob and Mo and all the guys that have their own rubs and stuff. It's like, if it says pork rub on there, then the general public, we know as pit masters of what you can put. I mean, I put stuff on popcorn, or I'll put it on eggs, or I'll put it on whatever you want. But just because it says chicken rub on the label, or just because it says pork rub, I mean, you can put that on anything.
Yeah, for sure. And so I know that is one advantage of having it have like a different kind of name, but I think it's just going to take me explaining it to people and people just experiencing it. And then obviously because I create so many recipes on my website, or through my cookbook, I'll use the rubs for different types of things that are not just beef and stuff. So
yeah, for
sure.
I use my brisket and pork rub for our chicken together, so it's great.
There you go. How long did it take you to come up with your recipes and stuff like it? Because making a rub is something that's going to, it's down the tunnel for me. Like, it's something I don't plan on making any money on it because I'm sure me and my mom and a couple of like third-rate cousins are going to buy it from me. But I want to have it, my own at some point. But the thought of like pre-mixing and making my own rub it's a scary, ordeal. How was that process for you? Like when you were coming up with your different varieties, you kind of take a rub that you really liked on a competition scene, like kind of reverse engineered it and added, mix match, or how did you go about it?
It was mainly, I've always been a cook first before I was really a competitor. And so like the building of flavor profiles is just something that I've always done. Sure. And so when I started competing, I actually started competing. I mean, I tasted some of the rubs that people had on the market, but I wanted to create my own flavors so that I stood out and I wasn't doing what everybody else was doing. So that's why I was making my own recipes at home. And it took me, I would say 2 to 3 years to get them exactly where I wanted them. I was grinding my own spices down. I was, doing them all. And then I was just bottling them and using them myself in, old plastic bottles from other rubs. And then when Spiceology reached out and offered to collab and bottle it, I was like, heck yeah, let's do it.
That's a big name. I mean,
yeah, it's a big process though, because when you develop your recipes at home, like most of us are using measuring cups and teaspoons and tablespoons. When you do rubs on large scale, they do it by weights. So they need to know how many grams of each ingredient so that then they can multiply it to make the big scale. So that's kind of the main thing. If you do want to go into spice production, is when you're working on your recipes at home, measure them out. Get yourself a scale that's really down to like the gram, and then measure it out that way so that they can multiply it. And then I went through multiple revisions. Chicken, actually, they took my recipe, this co-packer, and they got it right the very first time. Brisket, I think we did 4 revisions until I really liked it. And pork, I think we did 5 or 6. Because my pork is so distinct, I needed it to be exactly what it was and how I envision it. So it like at one point it didn't have the caramelization notes it needed, and at one point it was too spicy. And so we just had to like kind of scale things back until we got there. But now I'm really happy with them.
That's awesome. I mean, the spices they're using at the co-packers are so much better quality than what we can get at home. Was that like a big hurdle? Kind of like you're like, oh, this was kind of like, I use 48 grams of this, and then they do that, and you're like, oh wow, that's much more potent.
Yeah, I got specific down mainly with salt, honestly, because I use the Diamond kosher salt, which is different than other types of kosher salt. So getting specific to that point, or explaining I want 16 mesh black pepper as opposed to like a finer grind or a more coarse grind. So, but other than that, I've always been using Spiceology spices anyway, because I've been an ambassador with them. So my whole pantry is lined with their stuff, which is good quality. So I think that the flavor profiles matched quite a bit actually on that aspect.
Rusty, you got to make your own, like as owner of a food truck, like I can't imagine you using like, store-bought product on your stuff. I mean, I'm sure that'd just price you out the door, wouldn't it?
I don't know. I never tried store-bought stuff. It feels like it'd probably be cheaper just to go store-bought, to be completely honest with you.
Really?
Yeah, the stuff we use in there can get very costly, and I added and never subtracted, So, our brisket is kind of complicated, and it has some different stuff in it that most people don't use, and so they're more expensive products.
Like what, Rusty?
Worcestershire powder.
Worcestershire?
Yeah, I put that in our brisket, and I also put hickory smoke in our pork rub.
Yeah,
because I don't care. I put a lot of hickory smoke in our sauce. So suck it. Because I like that. I like to be able to have the smoky flavor on there, and I just like that stuff. So yeah, I mean, for me, it's more. I don't know. I'll have to try it out. I know a lot of people use Blues Hog and they just buy it in bulk.
Sure.
Or find someone that they can just buy in bulk. That actually might be cheaper, to be completely honest with you. I don't know. I actually would be interested to find out.
I got you.
But I can't do that because I wanted to develop my own distinct flavor.
I don't think that would fit with your personality. Right? I feel like you need to be Rusty.
There's people out here using Blues Hog on their stuff all the time, at the restaurants and stuff, and that's cool. I love it. I eat Blues Hog. I'll drink it like I drink water. I love that stuff, but just kind of have that same old flavor that everyone else does. So
I mean, it could be Sweet Baby Ray's. There's restaurants out here that use Sweet Baby Ray's. So I'll take Blues Hog all day over that.
I've seen restaurants here that use the basic that has no labels, just barbecue sauce on it.
There you go. Sponsored by McCormick's. No, man. So speaking of brisket, and you talking about how you guys cook your different briskets, I'm gonna put you on the spot here, Christy. Brisket's very regional, and in some areas it's very religious. Do you think per se that the Texas brisket with a hard, coarse pepper and really hard bark is the way to go versus more of like a Kansas City style where it's more of a softer bark and more, a little more moist and a little more juicy, some more savory, I would say. Which region would you say you like yours personal preference?
Yeah, I lived in both Kansas and Texas, and I prefer Texas barbecue. Like I like that charcoal. I like the salt pepper, like the really coarseness. But I will say when it comes to the point, I do love a Kansas City burn-in, like an authentic Kansas City burn-in. Like I'll eat those all day long. But if I'm talking about just the flat, I definitely want to go with the Texas side.
Do you find your people are like scared of because my father-in-law, I was talking to my father-in-law, and he didn't know what a burn-in was like for the longest. Like, do you feel like it's a lot of people don't know unless you're kind of in the barbecue world or kind of know the stuff that what a burn-in is, or like Rusty on a truck? Do you ever sell burn-ins or your customers think it's like too fatty. Like, this is too fatty. I'm like, no, don't say it to me. Just walk away.
Yeah, you get people asking about it all the time. It's kind of tricky. We don't do it just because I want to try it down the road, but we just got to get to a space where we can, because I have a feeling it's just going to sell out constantly because you can't produce enough, to get to where we're at. And that's what I hope anyway. The worst case scenario is people don't want it. They don't know what it is and they don't buy it. And so you're stuck here with this things you can't repurpose, So people who do it, it's hard because most restaurants who do burn-ins, they don't do a good job.
They don't.
And I am afraid of that. I don't think I can hold it, well enough to make that happen. So it's hard. It's a hard one. I want to do it because I love Kansas City barbecue. I think it's so stinking good.
It doesn't suck. That's for sure. It definitely does not suck. So you mentioned earlier that you have a new cookbook out. So tell us a little bit. You got one right there. I'm sure you do.
I do.
There it is. Look at there.
Boom.
She comes prepared.
So this just launched on Monday. It's called Holiday Grilling. It's available in softcover and hardcover, and there's full color pictures for every dish. And it has appetizers, it has cocktails, including smoked cocktails. It's got brunch dishes, like some of the traditional brunch dishes that we would eat over the holidays. It's got the mains, the sides, the desserts, and all of it can be cooked on a smoker or on a grill. And I give some oven instructions too. So I've been wanting to publish a cookbook for years, and honestly, publishers were like, oh, I just don't know. I don't know. And a lot of times they were like, I don't think people are ready to buy a cookbook from a girl. And I'm like, okay, whatever. So I just said, okay, I'm going to do this myself. So Amazon has a really cool program where it's called KDP, and it's Kindle Direct Publishing. And if you can pull it off and design the cookbook and, create the PDF file and upload it, then they turn it into a print on demand cookbook. So
that's so cool. So what was your inspiration? Did you just kind of go back and just get your rotary of recipes that you did you put them all out there? You just save some back for for just you?
Yeah, no, there's some that are already on my website, and then there's some that aren't yet, so they're just here in this cookbook. And I think that for a long time I wanted to do a cookbook about, I guess, representing different females in barbecue, and I wanted to interview a bunch of females. I've also wanted to do a brisket cookbook because, as we talked about, I love brisket and there's so much to learn about it. But then finally it just came to this one. I was like, you know what? I wanted to launch during the holidays. The holidays are really special for me and my family. And I didn't really get introduced to grilling for the holidays until I met my husband's father, and he grills the turkey and he grills the hams. And ever since then, I mean, that's how we've been doing the holidays. So I'm hoping that it introduces some people to just taking some of their holiday cooking outside. So.
Amen.
I didn't know that was out yet, so I just bought it.
Yeah. Oh, thanks. And the cool thing about
I was like, all right.
The cool thing about Amazon is so it's interesting, and I'm pretty transparent of a person, but they'll tell you you have to price it at least this much, and then from there, and that covers their printing costs and all that, and then from there you make 60% profit at whatever you price it at. So I priced it at $34.99 based on all that, and then they go ahead and knock the price off from their costs. I still get whatever my 60% profit is, but they'll cut it down. So now it's $25, I think. So they knock the price $10, which is cool. I don't know how long it'll stay like that.
So get it fast.
Yeah, last week it was the #1 top new release in barbecuing and grilling. So I was really excited about that.
Congratulations.
So, yeah. Thanks. And it was in the top 10 for a little while in all sales of barbecue cookbooks, but now it's slipped a little bit. So get out there and buy it. Amazon.com. Just go to Holiday Grilling, and they do really fast. If you get the soft cover, you get it in 2 days. So it's usually super fast.
It's Amazon. It should be here an hour later.
I know, right?
The drones. I'm waiting for the drones. Send them my way. I want it now.
Also, there though, just something we should bring up that I think it's just really cool because a lot of competition barbecue people listen to this. But Christie also put together these score sheets. That's
Do I have that here?
And so you can mark all of your scores, what they did, notes, what you thought they did well, what you didn't.
Oh wow!
And I gotta be honest. When I was coming up through competition barbecue, so many people told me log it. I log it. I write it down. I do this. I write this down. I go back and look at work because you forget,
Yeah.
And sometimes you'll try something cool. You're like, oh shoot, what was it? And everyone told me to do it. And so I used to write them down. And I tell you, man, it was huge for us. And I still have that notebook where we would just write stuff down, and Jay would have it open and we'd just go, oh, hey, Jay, okay, write it down. Just write it down over there real quick. And
is that on Amazon too?
It is. Yeah. So these are $10. There's a competition barbecue score sheets and there's a steak cook-off score sheet. So if you do SCA, I've got a version for each of those. Yeah. And that's good.
Ordered.
Oh, thanks. Sweet. And yeah, people always ask me, like, how do you get better? And I'm like, get better by remembering how you messed up and how you did right, and go backwards. And
works on the food truck too. I do it all the time to this day. Today we had a breakthrough on our cornbread, and I'm like, Viviana, write it down right now. We got to write that down.
Was it Jiffy? Did you use Jiffy?
You know what's actually really funny, Logan? Do you want to hear?
I would love to know, Rusty. What
actually do use Jiffy? That is a true story. Now I'm not.
It's kidding. Good stuff.
Really good.
I add things to it to make it different. Yeah. We add
like buttermilk.
We add vanilla pudding.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, we do use Jiffy.
That's a good idea. I put vanilla pudding in my cake mix, so I'm gonna have to try that.
It makes it moist and has flavor. And then we just today what we did is she put sugar over the top, and it crusted over the top, and it was
that's the best.
It was so good. I'm like, write that down. How much did you put on? And it's so tasty now. So it has that good cornbread taste. It's got that good flavor to it inside too. It's like, it's really good. So yeah, I use Jiffy. It's my grandmother's recipe. So that's
grandmother Jiffy.
Yeah, my grandma Jiffy.
I grow and cook.
Stacy for short.
All right, but let me a question. What is something you talk about how you didn't grill anything on your grill besides what traditional is? What is something that people would be surprised that they can grill on their smoker or grill at home and turn out better than they can how they would do it normally?
Yeah, I mean, I would say like a lot of times casseroles. Like if you are a casserole family, throwing that on your smoker, it's just so easy, and it adds that little essence of that smoke flavor. I think more and more people are realizing that with pellet smokers, because they now are treating pellet smokers more like ovens. I'll do my pies on a smoker. You just need to make sure that you have it elevated, even on a pellet grill, elevated up on another rack so you don't burn that crust on the bottom, because it does still get hot. But I think when I was on Barbecue Brawl on Food Network, there were several things that I cooked out there that were just completely different. Like I smoke my whiskey before I put it into my Sabayon, which is like this egg creamy custard sauce that I made with fresh berries. But by having the whiskey smoked, it just added a whole nother dimension to it. So I mean, my philosophy has always been anything you can cook inside, take it outside and give it a go and see what you think about it. And play around with, different woods. Most of the time, most of the woods taste the same, except for like mesquite will be really strong, but cherries, a little bit more sweet. So I usually tend to stick near the neutral, like pecans and cherries when I'm baking. But yeah.
No, it's that was something like I love desserts. Like smoked desserts. That's been kind of my new thing. And on the off season, like I'm trying to improve obviously my craft for competition, but mainly I'm trying to improve sides. I feel like sides is what separates the women from the ladies or the men from the boys. When it comes to it's like, I mean, we can all grill a steak for the most part. We can all do some fashion of our ribs, but what are you gonna throw beside there? You can do some Velveeta and cheese, or you can do like some legit sides, because that's what I'm talking about.
Yeah, like you got like Utah funeral potatoes. Throw those on the smoker. So good. Yeah.
Utah funeral potatoes?
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
Is that like the bucket of KFC we bring to ours? Is that like the dish? Like, is that what you bring to your funeral? Because I wish you get a bucket of KFC and like, hey, sorry for your loss.
Funeral potatoes it's a staple. Here in Utah, it's funeral potatoes and green Jello.
Yes.
So that's what we do. And we invented fry sauce. So back up, bro.
Fry sauce. Oh, so good.
We went like, hey man, what if you took mayo and ketchup and mixed it? It was quite extraordinary.
Mind blown. It's like whiskey and Mountain Dew. You don't think to mix it, but it's really delicious,
right?
I haven't tried that.
But no, there a lot. Actually, it's kind of a thing. Smoking for funeral potatoes is really, really good. It's very excellent. So I agree on that casserole bit. It's a very good idea to throw those in the pellet grill at least to get those going.
Do you have anything in your food truck, Rusty, that people would be surprised? You kind of throw it out there. It's like, I throw it on the big pit.
No, I don't cook anything on the pit but the meat. So we bake everything in there and do all that kind of stuff. So it's nothing we're smoking, necessarily. So, but no, nothing we'd be surprised about.
Yeah. Last thing I wanted to talk about, and I appreciate you spending your time here, Christy and Rusty. I know you're like chomping at the bit now to watch your Saints lose. So I'm not going to hold you much longer, I promise. But no. So did you talk about cooking inside, and what you can cook outside, you can cook inside. So I saw that you got to play around with that new indoor smoker, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Tell a little bit about that, because that kind of interests me and kind of disgusts me at the same time. It's like sacrilegious. It's like, oh, it's kind of cool, but I kind of want to touch it. I don't want to play with it.
Well, I would say that it's a really cool invention for people who can't have a grill, can't have an outside smoker. It uses pellet. So in my opinion, I do prefer the flavor of charcoal over pellets personally. So there's that, but it's fueled by pellets, but it is really cool that it like has this combustion system that it doesn't allow the smoke to get into your house. Like it filters it all. And so the fact that you can smoke indoors without it being like toxic is pretty cool. I will say that it's not going to give you the same results as an offset or a drum smoker. It is still like electric heat source. So you are still cooking it with electric, but you're getting that smoke flavor. So it's more like a like a flavor enhancer than it is a smoker.
Is it essentially taking your oven and throwing a smoke tube in there?
In a way that it filters out, so that like if you really did that in your oven, you would die.
Sure.
Sure. Or your smoke detector would be going off. But yes, I think from a cooking standpoint, yes. Now, what is a little bit different though, so like the Ninja grill is similar in that it's an electric grill, but it also has this convection technology with the Ninja that I like, because that helps create the bark and stuff, which you get some bark on this GE indoor smoker. What I love about it though is that it can be a holding station. It can go down to 140. So I can cook a brisket outside and then I can hold it inside instead of buying an Alto Sham, because I don't have an Alto Sham at home. So
I got you. Well, that's cool. I mean, it's no George Foreman grill, but it looks like it's pretty cool.
Yeah, it's definitely neat. And speaking of casseroles, like if you like, I wanted to just test it out, and I got a pan of macaroni and cheese from Costco, like the ones that they already have made. And I just threw it in there and turned it on, and I had smoked mac and cheese, and I didn't have to go, fire up the pellet grill or any other grill. And it only uses just a little bit of pellets. So yeah, it has its advantages.
Yeah, those are pre-made mac and cheese you're talking about. That's what my house, we call that a recipe. That's a family thing. That's my mother's recipe. She'd buy those and throw them in the oven, homemade.
Yeah.
Yeah. Good time. She can order with the best of them, though, guys. I mean, her numbers and dialing skills, top shelf, world class. No, I love you, Mom. But no, man, that's so. That's I appreciate you coming on. Like I said, it's I was always curious about that. I saw you kind of did a demo with that, and I'm like, that's something that I will never buy, but it's cool that you got to play around with it. It's fun.
Yeah, I saw that the Consumer Electronics Show, which is here in Vegas, and just this past year they added like more food technology. So there were 6 grill companies that I got to check out, and I'm going to be going to it again in, I think it's January or February of 2025. I think it's January. So we'll see what new grill companies come in.
I got you. All right. Anyways, boom, 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 DJ Cali. Now, that mouth sound I made means it's time for the Brothers Q Barbecue Spotlight round, brought to you by Brothers Q Barbecue Spotlight, or Brothers Barbecue Supply Company. Gosh, I am sucking tonight. It's a mouth twister. Anyways, Christy, we have just before we send you off, we got like 5 questions I want to ask you, quick and easy, no big deal. Yeah, a little put you on the spot. You're look at her. She's like, I'm ready. Let's go. All right, man, Christy. So whenever you're cooking on competition barbecue, what is something you always have in your trailer that you will, and you can't say your thermopen or your thermometer?
My flags from the Jack, from my parking spot at the Jack, they put little flags, and so I have those up on my board with all my 180 pins too. Yeah,
I'll get one of those one day. All right. Moving forward, I think we already know the answer, but of the 4 proteins that you cook, which protein is your favorite and which one is your worst category?
My favorite to cook and eat is brisket. My worst is usually ribs.
I got
Yeah.
you. Good deal. All right. If you're going to go and eat barbecue, which I don't know if you like barbecue, because personally I don't. If you're going to go out to eat barbecue and on destination, would you choose to eat in Texas or would you choose to eat in Kansas City? Which one has the best barbecue? Texas. Wow, I shouldn't even think about it. Like,
no. Sorry, I just like their sausage and brisket. Give me a plate of that. I'm good.
Oh, yep. So good. So good. All right, cool. All right, of all your three rubs, correct?
Yes. Uh-huh.
All right, of the 3 rubs, which rank them from best to worst in your opinion? from usage wise, which one would you use the most and which one would you use the least?
It's like your children. Rank your children.
Hey, I know you love them all equally, but
right. Brisket rub is probably my favorite because I can use it for everything. It's more like an SPG, but it's got some guajillo chilies and some other stuff in there. And then pork. I tend to put pork a lot on all things pork, plus vegetables and bacon and smoked mac and cheese and all that stuff. And then chicken. Too. Thanks. And then chicken, because it's good. I love my chicken, but it's definitely more of a poultry type seasoning, so not as all purpose.
Absolutely. All right. If you're gonna have a Mount Rushmore of barbecue, who's gonna be on your mountain?
Oh gosh, I don't know. That's hard. There's too many good people. I don't want to leave people out. Well, so Keita Roberts is my bestie. She's from Girl Carnivore, so she's got to go on there. And I'm gonna not stick with like competition stuff. I'm gonna go with Susie from Hey Girl Hey, and I'm gonna go with Mary Kressler from Vindulge, because those are like my 3 sisters that we inspire each other every single day to come up with new ideas and to just crush it in barbecue. So yeah.
Hey, solid. That's a solid. He's like, oh, it's so hard, but you just ran one off. You knew it. You know what's going on, buddy.
Amazing.
There's a mini Rushmore too. The rest of you are on that one. All right, last question. If I'm going out to eat in Vegas and I'm going to eat barbecue, what's the best restaurant in town?
Yeah, there's 2. So Jessie Rae's,
we got one.
There has to be 2 because it depends. Because Jessie Rae's, if you just want that wild Vegas experience of like the sinful stuff, but then Hog Tradition is that new one that I found. The flavors are just so unique and different that it's an experience you got to have. And you're not in Vegas for one day, so you get 2 nights. Yeah.
Oof. You don't go to Vegas. Vegas does you. No, anyway. Anywho. Hey, well, thank you so much for coming on the show. I truly appreciate it. This time of show where you can give your plugs, let people know where they can find you. Obviously, check out her new rubs and cookbook, because I know it's gonna be badass. I love watching your videos and stuff like that, and I've totally robbed a recipe or 2 or 3 off of you and claimed it as my own. But I truly appreciate you coming on here. So let people know where they can find you. Let people know. Shout out your cookbook one more time, and yeah.
Yep, you can find me at girlscangrill.com. I'm on all the socials at Girls Can Grill. Holiday Grilling Cookbook and my competition barbecue score sheets are both on Amazon, and all my rubs will be at Girls Can Grill very shortly.
Well, that is awesome. Thank you so much for coming on the show. I know you're a busy lady, and good luck. Have fun at the Jack and my side of the country. Get some good food, and good luck with your cooking. I know you're going to kill it.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Absolutely. Well, all right. Well, I appreciate you coming on, and I'll talk to you later. Thank you.
All right. Bye.
See you, Christy.
Man, I'm getting as smooth as sandpaper. It is like worse progressively as I go on.
I think sandpaper would have a complaint, because that's pretty rough. It's pretty rough.
Thanks, buddy. I appreciate it.
Yeah, no problem. It was really cringy and really hard to watch.
Yeah. So if you listen, just to your listeners, I mean, you're welcome. You're not watching this live, so whatever. I hate you.
But I have to say it, when I was first coming up in the barbecue world, and doing stuff and trying different things, I go to Christie's website a lot. And like I said, she taught me indirectly how to do sausages and different things like that. But I would tell you, every single recipe I've made off of that, I can say this, not very often. There's a few, but that's one I go to constantly. And she has it's kind of a one-stop shop. If you want to cook at elevation, you want to cook on drums, she has a barbecue tips podcast you can listen to. It's a very short, it's kind of at the point. Tons of recipes. I mean, it's like the one-stop shop of barbecue. It's very not one-dimensional. There's so much going on. If you have a question, it's there. She reached out to a couple people, including myself, about cooking at elevations and how it works. And so, I mean, if you have a question about anything, it's probably there, or it will be soon. So the girlscangrill.com is a really good resource for anyone, even competition barbecue guys. If you want to learn how to pastrami anything, any recipe you want to do. So, I mean, I'm telling you, I can vouch for Christie that she's just a freaking great cook. So
man,
head on over there and check it out. Trust me, you will love it.
Absolutely, man. Rusty, you setting the gate high, man. Setting that bar high for the rest of the fellas. I kind of feel bad.
Yeah, it's okay. That's how I roll. Like I said, I want to look you in the eye while you.
E2 Brute. E2.
Exactly.
All right, man. Well, that's our show, guys. We got a great lineup this month. Like I said, it is going to be Dealer's Choice this month, so who knows who we're going to have. Like I said, I don't even know them all yet. They're still letting me know, but next week you got Houston's episode, so Houston and Rusty will be on here breaking it down. Made it much smoother since I won't be on. So make sure you guys tune in. And if you haven't, make sure you subscribe, follow us on Facebook, and then make sure to click those follow buttons on Spotify and Apple. I sure do appreciate it. I will send you a thank you for your thank you card. But anyways, thank you guys so much. I appreciate it. It's getting worse. It's like,
oh, it's like the card is beautiful. It's really special.
Okay. Anywho, all right, guys, that's our show. But hey, until next time, when it comes to barbecue, make sure you're always right on cue. See you guys.
Bye.
Bye.
That's all, folks.